The thirst has been quenched. Happy Sunday, happy Sunday, happy Sunday. It is Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here for another Sunday of, you've guessed it, the Success Starter series. Y'all know we go live each and every Sunday where we talk about setting your week up for success, because in doing the work to set your week up for success, you're ultimately doing the work to set your life up for success. And as your productivity and accountability coach, I'm all about coaching, empowering, and helping you to find that hidden time in your day. Time that you can use to pour back into yourself as you pursue your goals, your purpose, your life passions, while still maintaining your current responsibilities without the stress, without the overwhelm, and while making sure that you're still able to do what? Take care of you. And today's no different. We're going to tap in, we're going to dive in, we're going to have the conversation, we're going to do the work, we're going to get into this conversation. And, hold on, something is happening behind me here. And as we tap into and get into that conversation, we're going to be diving in and we're going to be talking about what it looks like to look at your routines, because we got problems going on in life, but the problem isn't your routine. The problem is your system. It's the system behind your routine. And I get that you might be questioning or asking, like, what's the difference between routine? What's the difference between systems? Are they the same? How are they the same? How are they different? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about, like, really when you look at your routine, what's actually throwing it off. Because oftentimes it isn't the routine. It's the system. And the system is part of the structure that makes it. They're going to overlap. It's going to be both, but we're going to dive and we're going to talk about it. And so as we journey through this conversation, think about what's the one routine in your life that you either need to create or you need to tweak. Because for some of you, you don't have any routine, so therefore we can't even talk about the system behind it. Maybe this will help you as you work to create your routine. And so think about what's the area of your life that's the most discombobulated, disordered, lacking structure, whatever word, whatever phrase, whatever combination thereof you want to use to describe it. What's the one area of your life that is lacking routine or needs a routine? And what's the one area of your life that your routine is not giving what you feel it needs to give? It's not doing what you want it to do, what it needs to do for you. And so you're just struggling. So let's dive in. Let's talk about it. Let's look at why your routines always feel like they're falling apart. It don't matter if the seasons change, if life's changing, they just feel like they're falling apart. And with school starting tomorrow, well, at least in my area, school is starting tomorrow, and I know most other places school either started the last couple of days of last week or the next week or two, they will be starting. And so as you're preparing for this season change, and I get it, you saying I don't even got kids, but have you noticed how much better your commute has been since school been out? Okay, get ready for the traffic to come back tomorrow full speed. And because for me, it's the first day of school, people probably taking their kids to school for the first time. They transitioning from elementary to middle to high school, so they're doing that extra stuff where they show up at school and take the kids to their school supply, all that stuff. But whatever the case may be, why is it that you feel, or that you found even, that your routine isn't working for you in this season? And is there something that you can do about it? The answer is yes. There's always something that you can do about it, because if something's not working, we need to change it. Because what's insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Exactly. Got it. So let's use that as the framework to really guide us as we really go through this conversation, as we really go through this journey. And so as you really start looking at and thinking about, like, why are my routines not working? Why is it that every time there's a shift and an adjustment in my schedule, the routine feels thrown off? And that's where the system aspect really comes into play. Because what is the system that you've created that goes with your schedule? What is this system that is behind it? And so let's use my morning routine, for example. In school starting or not starting. Like, my morning routine is the same. Everything flows the same. Now, the routine in terms of leaving work, and that's not really a routine, it's really just getting in the car and going, but we're going to put that as part of the morning routine. When school is out, I can be a little bit more lax with, did I push start on my workout, at the right time? Did I, get in the shower at the right time? Did I get out? How am I lollygagging as I get dressed? Because when school is out, my commute time to work is shorter. And normally I leave home about 7, but I can leave at home at 7 and I can get to work by 7:45, 7:50 at the latest, which means, whereas when school is in, I'm leaving home 6:55, 7 o'clock, still getting to work 8:05, 8:10, and sometimes after that. And so when you start really looking at and thinking about like what is the system that is behind this, okay, what is the system that is behind this, like what am I letting guide me essentially, that's where understanding that this ain't working is important. And when something isn't working, that's when we need to make some adjustments. And so when you think about, when you're looking at your routine and you're looking at the feeling, the thought, the belief, the reality that it always feel like it's falling apart after something shifts, something changes. The short answer is that your routine wasn't built for that system. And so with school starting back, like last week I was trying to fine tune it a little bit, like making sure like, hey, time to pick it back up. You've been lax for almost 2 months, school has been out. It's time to make sure you're locking back in. Like when that alarm is going off, like, because I have reminders, like even like once I get into my office to remind me to, start my workout so that I don't get busy working. And then next thing I know, it is time to work out. Have an alarm that tells me that basically you should be done working out. You should be getting in the shower now. And so I was like last week trying to be a little bit more intentional and making sure that I was hitting my mark, like hitting the marker essentially. And as you like look at your routines, like look at your habits, look at your systems, that's kind of what you should be checking in with yourself. And I get it might not be like your morning routine or your back to school routine or whatever the case may be, but whatever area of your life this routine is for, it is important to look at it and ask yourself, where am I struggling? Like what needs to give? Like what needs to give? And so as you kind of like put that as the framework to kind of guide you, because like even like the question that I asked you in the beginning of what area of your life do you need a routine, or what area of your life has the most disorder or has a routine but you feel like it's not being efficient, it's not being effective. And so that's essentially asking the question of like, why does it feel like it's always falling apart, life's falling apart when something changes in this area? And for you, it might not even be that something has changed. It just might just be that the system and the routine isn't working. And oftentimes you might not realize that there's been a change, but there's been a change in some regard. Maybe it's in your capacity, maybe it's in your energy level, maybe it's in your workload or things like that affects the routine. But once you can really look at and really understand what's the change in this season and how is this change going to help me, or really how does it affect me, and so how can I make changes that will help me when it comes to this routine? And once you kind of understand that as like the framework or as the behind the scenes, you can say, as we kind of like go through this conversation and dive in a little bit more, the difference between routines and systems is what we need to explore next. And so when you examine the difference between a routine and you examine the difference between a system, what you might learn is that you've been building the wrong one. So when you look at a routine, what do you think of? Like, what do you look at or what do you think about when you hear the word routine? What comes to mind? Is it the structure? Is it the pattern? Is it the what? Like, what comes to mind when you hear the word routine? For me, what often comes to mind is like morning routine, evening routine. Like, that's kind of just what just generally comes to mind for me. Putting a word in front of routine. Whereas when I think about system, I think more about structure. But really, what is the difference? So, like, when you think about a morning routine, what is it? It's a series of actions, a series of steps that you're taking in a structured way. Like, for me, my morning routine, I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this. So it is a system in a sense. It's a type of system, and it does have a structure to it because I have this framework around what I need to get done within the morning routine. And some things have to be done before others, and some things just need to happen within this time frame. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a specific order. And the whole purpose behind a routine, let's think morning routine, is about setting your day up for success, setting your morning up for success, starting your day strong, essentially starting your day strong, starting your day right. Whereas a system, it's more fine-tuned. It's a little bit more complex, maybe is what I'm trying to say. um the system itself, and the system itself is more of that broader overarching structure, which is where I get how, as I'm describing it, I'm using similar words in them. Like, I describe the routine as having a system and having a framework, and then I'm describing a system as having a framework as well and having more structure. So I can get how you can think your routine and system are the same. And it's not that they aren't, but they're up levels to each other. So a routine is going to be the basic starting point, so to speak. And the structure that you're creating with a system is taking it to the next level. And so you have to start first with the routine before you can build the system to support it. Because if you need structure, if you need support, if you need framework, you need to understand the basic building blocks. And a routine is essentially that. It's the basic building blocks that you're letting be the guiding force behind this system that you're now looking to build. And so when you think about a system, like I said, a system is, it's going to be that more complex thing. It's going to be the overarching structure that makes it up. Goodness, I should have drank some more water before I got on here, clearly. Okay, let's stay. And so when you look at your system is essentially the strategy. I know I was talking about at the beginning of this month, like me needing to focus more on the strategy that helps my plan. And so your system is essentially the strategy, that framework, that more complex system, the more details that are going to help you. And so routines might be the specific steps that you need to take within a given structure. The system is the overarching structure. And so when you really are trying to dive in and understand, like, what is the difference between them, you start first with your routine. And so, like I was if you take it a step back and ask, what area do you need a routine in, or which of your routines needs work? That's where you're now building out that routine to have a system. And if this is getting complicated, this is what I do. This is why I'm Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach. You can comment the word system, and we can have a conversation to figure out what routines need work, what systems need to be built out to help you. You don't got to do it alone, because I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm just trying to help you take it deeper. And if you're not ready for that and you rather somebody else do it for you, hello, come along on the journey. So back in. So like I said, we were taking that initial step back of identifying, why are the routines falling apart? Are they built for this season? And when we talk about, is the routine built for this season, that's kind of where the system part comes into play. And so you often are trying to build routines when you need to be building systems. That's the problem. You do need routines. Every area of your life can't have a routine, but it could have a system. So there are some places where you have a routine, and when you up-level it, it turns into a system. And so maybe for you, you need to start with a workout routine, a meal prep routine, a morning routine, an evening routine, a prep for the week routine. But once you really want to make sure that it adjusts with you and goes to different seasons, that's where it really turns into a system. Because you're not so much adjusting your morning routine, the system behind it is what's adjusting. Because maybe your morning routine is the same, but you have a system to tighten it up or shrink it up based off of the amount of time that you have. Because when I travel, I still go through my morning routine, but I might not read all parts of my devotional. I might just make sure I hit one part. I might not, do the work part of, my morning routine, but I make sure I get my workout in. Like, I always like to move my body before I get on a plane, before I go to an airport, or whatever the case may be. And so when you really think about, and when you really do that examination phase, and you really do that work, that's where you really understand that, okay, maybe I've been building routines, but maybe what I actually need to build are systems. Maybe what I need to do is do some of that deeper work to really fine-tune this system to make it work for my life. And so if you're at that point of, okay, like, let's take action, let's execute, what can you look at? What can you identify to say, or ask yourself, I should say, what are my routines giving? Like, are my routines in survival mode? And if they are, is there a way that I can adjust them, that I can shift them to be more stable, to be more of a system? And the answer is yes. But how? So how do we do this? We go back to that first question that I asked. So if you're looking for signs that your routine is struggling, ask yourself, what area of my life do I need a routine, or which routine in my life doesn't seem to be working efficiently or effectively? And as you identify those two answers, because it might, those two answers might work for different areas of your life, then you start working on building systems for them. Because maybe it does, again, start with a morning routine, an evening routine, a meal prep routine, and things like that. But then once you get that routine down, you want to be efficient and effective with it. And so maybe you learn, like for me, when it comes to meal prepping, people are sometimes like, how do you, meal prep 3 meals for the week in about an hour and a half? Because I have a system. The routine is every Saturday after I finish my workouts, I go meal prep. But the routine that I have for meal prepping is also a product of reverse engineering. I know what's going to take the longest to cook. So therefore, I'm going to start cooking that first so that the things that take shorter time to cook can be finishing up, and so everything can kind of pretty much finish at the same time. Or if I know that I'm going to need the same pan for 2 items, and one's going to take a shorter time versus one takes a longer time, I'm going to cook the shorter item if I'm going to need that pan for something else that's going to take a longer time. So that, again, everything can kind of finish at the same time. But these things come with practice. First, I just had to get the idea of having a routine down. And I guess it kind of goes back to like growing up and like breakfast. Like, if my mama's cooking grits, we know grits take a long time to cook. You're not going to start the eggs before you start the grits. You're going to start the grits while they going. Well, actually, it's a mix, because she would do bacon in the microwave. And growing up, it was like 4 of us plus mom and dad, so like 6 kids, 6 people, not kids, 6 people that she's cooking for. And then, kind of 4 as my older sister and brother went off to college, so then it was kind of 4 of us. But on a baking pan, it only holds like 4 to maybe 5 pieces of bacon. So you would have to run it 2 to 3 times, depending on how many people we're cooking for. And baking in the microwave takes 4 to 5 minutes. I know I'm giving y'all a whole rundown here. So oftentimes, she would start the bacon first, then the grits, finishing with the eggs. Like when the last tray of bacon goes in, that's when she can start cooking the eggs, because then everything can be done at the same time. Because bacon does have a burning point. Grits, as long as you keep stirring it, maybe adding water, turning it down low, you good. The grits can cook and simmer indefinitely, so to speak. And so understanding timing is where the system part comes into play. You have the routine of cooking breakfast every week, meal prepping every week, washing dishes, picking out your clothes for the week, whatever it might be. You have the routine of doing it, but do you have a system that makes it most efficient, most effective? The reason that I do a menu for the month, grocery shopping, my groceries last once a month, is because I've got a system. As I plan out my meals, I know what vegetables I might need to cook first, because this vegetable might not last as long as this vegetable. Like when I went grocery shopping this week, I bought asparagus and Brussels sprouts and cabbage. Cabbage will last, I don't want to say forever, but cabbage will last a month. The asparagus are going to start to get wilty or mushy, especially because of the bag that they're in. Because they used to have the asparagus that would be in a rubber band. They didn't have those. But anyways, the asparagus, because the bag is in, is going to start going back before the Brussels sprouts. So as I was meal prepping and as I was making my menu, I was like, okay, asparagus this week, Brussels sprouts next week, cabbage next week, and honestly into next month. And then I have like lettuce and stuff. And so, you intersperse that within there. What I'm saying is, systems are important. Y'all probably listening to this like, girl, why are you talking about food? But sometimes that's the simplest example makes the most sense. A lot of people can relate to food. Everybody might not cook grits. You might have cream of wheat. I'm assuming it's the same timing and process. I don't know. I never had cream of wheat. But people can kind of understand food, even if you're not necessarily a cook Maybe you might not understand. I digress. Instead of me using planning examples to overwhelm you and stress you out, I try to simplify the examples with things that you can really relate to. Because people often talk about, I don't have time to meal prep. How do you get meal prepping done so quickly? And so if I use an example of things that people have asked me about already, maybe you can relate to it, maybe you can understand, and maybe you can see why I plan my meals for the month. I can grocery shop once a month because people have also told me my food goes bad before the end of the month, like my fruits and my vegetables. And I'm like, child, I don't know what you do. Because I don't feel like I do anything crazy. Like, I wash them when I first get them home, let them dry, put them up. Like, I don't feel that I do anything exceptional to make my food last. But maybe the thing that I do that's exceptional is I understand general timing of how long something will last. And I factor that into my meals. So maybe that's the exceptional thing I do. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I thought it was common sense. I don't know. I don't know. Common sense ain't common. I don't know. But I'm not saying any of that to bash you. So, why is it that your routine feels like it's falling apart? Because it's not built for this season. And so if you can look at and examine and understand what routines that you have, what routines do you need to create, you then will understand the difference between the routine and the system. The routine is the steps that you're taking in the specific order, whereas the system is the larger overarching framework and structure that helps to make these routines stick. You can have routines in some areas of your life and systems for others. You might have the routine of meal prepping weekly, grocery shopping monthly, working out at this time, have a morning routine. But what's the system that supports each of those things? And so if you're looking at your routines, wondering if they're just in survival mode, we go back to that original question. What routines do I have in my life that are struggling, or in what areas of my life do I need a routine? And maybe asking that question, you might actually need a system, but hello, that's where I come in as your productivity and accountability coach. Comment the word system, book a personalized productivity audit, let's figure it out together. Or we can call it a routine rehab session. It's essentially the same thing. But book a routine rehab session. And let's talk about and audit the current systems that you have and figure out if they fit your life. And if not, how can we rebuild them so that they fit your life? That's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it a routine rehab session for right now. And so, don't think that your routine is the problem. It's the system behind it. What's actually throwing your routine off right now in this season of your life? And what can we do to fix that, to change that, to adjust that, to pivot within that? What can we do? Because it's something that can be done. But I think that's all that I got for y'all. So it's been Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here for another Sunday of the Success Starter series, diving in, talking about your routine isn't a problem. The system behind it is. We've looked at and we've examined what routines do you have. We've looked at the routines. We've examined the difference between routines and systems. And we've created that game plan to execute in the sense of transitioning from routines to systems and understanding where you need better systems in your life and how you can up-level them, how you can up-level those routines and turn them into systems. But if you're looking for support, if you're looking for accountability, if you're looking for help, if you've got questions, comment the word system and we're going to book that routine rehab session to audit the current routines that you have, to figure out what routines you might be missing, and to figure out what systems that we can put in place to help make life better. So until next time, it's been Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here for another Sunday of Success Starter series. Coach Lee is out.